In this video, we're going to demonstrate the most efficient way to schedule tryouts and have them appear on the website. So just starting on our demo site here, we are on an actual tryout schedule page. So there is a special page type that can be added to the menu specifically for showing a tryout schedule. This is in the menu by default. However, you can have your webmaster add that tryout schedule page at any point. And there is also the ability to add a tryout schedule at the organization level, as well as a tryout schedule for specific categories, depending on the size and structure of your association. If you have any questions about the best way to set that up for your association, please feel free to contact support. But we do have this tryout schedule page right now in the main menu, and is using the tryout schedule page type. So that's what is allowing us to go to tryout features here and then click on tryout schedule. And it's showing us that we've got nothing scheduled. Now, this is at the tail end of the 14-15 season when this video is recorded, so there were no schedule or no tryout schedule for this team in our demo site. So what I'll do is I'll show you how to schedule tryouts for a current season's teams, but also, and more importantly, we're going to show how to schedule tryouts in an upcoming season, which is more than likely the way you're going to do it. But just to give you an idea of what this page looks like throughout the year, if tryouts are in the past, I'll go into the scheduling module and show that we can go to current season, maybe rep, and to novice, and we'll go ahead and add a tryout that happened this past September. So we'll add a couple of them. So for our novice rep team, let's call it a tryout, insert and add another, and we'll do another one on the Friday, insert and close that, just to give you an idea of what this tryout schedule page does when tryouts are in the past. So what the site does is it sort of assumes that once tryouts are over, it tries to de-emphasize them somewhat. And because these tryouts happened several weeks ago, or several months ago actually, the message shows up that says that the last session for any of these teams was completed more than a week ago. So if you want more information about that team, it has a link to that team's to that team's website. And again, the tryout schedules would show on their calendar, but again, since they're over, it sort of de-emphasizes them. Now, this tryout schedule page is kind of special. Most of the site, the way it works is it will show information from the current ongoing season so when it comes to things like games and practices and schedules and news articles, and even the list of teams is always going to be for the current season. But this tryout schedule page itself is sort of got that little bit of extra intelligence in it to say, if there's things happening in a future year, then we actually probably want to show those tryout schedules rather than the ones that are happening in the current season. So without changing the current season to next year, we can still have the 14-15 season as our current season, but we can show the 15-16 tryout schedule, which is what pretty much everybody's going to want to be able to do. So back into the scheduling module, we have the 15-16 season created already, so I can go to the other seasons option, choose 2015-2016, and I'm going to schedule a couple of tryouts for the novice team. And just to give you an idea of the different options you have available. So we'll do add new and then tryout. And the standard tryouts, you just leave the label blank. You're just going to choose the date, time, and venue. You'll know that you're in the proper season by the fact that this calendar is limiting me to scheduling things in the calendar year 2015 and beyond the start date that we've defined for the season. This is the reason that there are dates defined for the season is to help guide you along the process of making sure things are scheduled in the proper season. For example, if we had the end date for the 14-15 season set to be sometime in July 2015, we could mistakenly schedule tryouts for this past year's teams, which wouldn't be the recommended way to do it. So we want to make sure that we are in the proper season, so April 2015, and we'll say they're going to start right on the very first day available, 7 o'clock, and we'll schedule a couple of tryouts for consecutive nights. So we've got one now set for the Monday and the Wednesday, and we've called them just tryouts. So if I was to go back to that tryout schedule page and refresh it, we should now see that for the 15-16 novice rep team, and it says 15-16 because we are still in the 14-15 season, we don't want people to get confused as far as which team this is, that the novice team has got these 2 dates scheduled. Now the other thing we can do is we can schedule things tentatively. So if I were to delete these two items and instead schedule them tentatively, that allows the scheduler to say, well, we're going to probably have a couple of tryouts scheduled for this team on the 13th and the 15th, but they're still tentative. Now, because of the way tentative items work, they're by default not going to show, and it's like they don't exist to the general public. Now the tryout schedule page reverts back to last year, just as if it wasn't there. So if these are known, that these are going to happen, but they're not yet approved by maybe an executive, then we can make them firm, and then it is possible to take your tryout schedule page and password protect it. So if we want to go to password protection, we can say that the tryout schedule page is going to be a password of 123. Save that. Now if we go to this tryout schedule page, because I'm logged in as administrator, I will be able to see it, but if I were to log out, it's going to challenge me for that password. So you can share that 123 password or whatever the password is with the people who need to sort of approve your tryout schedule before it gets published live, and that would be the way to do it. So I'll go ahead and log back in. So those are just a few different options as far as controlling the visibility of your tryout schedules. And we'll go back to the scheduling module and look at some of the other options we have available. So if we go to other seasons, 15-16, and sticking with that novice rep team, the other thing we can do is we can actually schedule games. And as part of the tryout process, obviously these will be exhibition games. And once we choose exhibition, we'll have an option that says whether or not we want to show it on the tryout schedule. So if the third skate for this team is going to be an exhibition game, and we can just choose the opponent, maybe it's a home game versus whoever, we can make it for this Sunday, and it's against whoever they want to play in the exhibition game. Go ahead and schedule that. It now shows up as an actual game. Now this is important. If you are using our game officials module, this is a home game, so it would trigger off the appropriate notifications to those who would need to assign officials to that game, and also would show up within the game officials module to assign referees to. And we also have because we choose that show on tryout schedule option, it does show up within the tryout schedule for each of those teams. Now we do treat these games special by checking off that box that says that this is a game that we want to show on the tryout schedule. We assume that this is not the full team for whichever team we're working with, or probably the full team for the opponent. Therefore, we don't prompt. In fact, we don't even allow the score for that game to go into the system. It is not part of the organization record or even part of the team's record. It's just an exhibition game that was part of the tryout process. Therefore, it's not really important to know what the score actually was. Another option we can do in here for tryouts is to add a new inner squad. So this is a special case where we could add a tryout and call it inner squad if we wanted to, but by default in the game officials module, again, if you're trying to schedule referees for an inner squad game, the fact that this is a tryout will not show up within the game officials module. So this inner squad option allows you to say, no, we do actually want to have referees scheduled for the game. However, it's still going to be an inner squad game amongst players who are still trying out for this novice rep team. So here we can say it's Group A versus Group B, and it'll be up to the coach to designate who Group A and Group B actually is. But the purposes of scheduling the tryout itself, though, we can add those inter-squad games and indicate the two respective groups who are playing. And also, by default, inter-squads would be checked off to show on the tryout schedule because that is typically when they would be occurring. But they don't have to. This is for mid-season inter-squad game. If there was such a thing, you'd be able to do that and not show on the tryout schedule. So we can insert and close that. Again, we have our inter-squad game going and showing Group B at Group A, and on the tryout schedule page it does show up as well. So in terms of scheduling these things and letting the appropriate people know when they need to arrive for their tryouts, the tryout schedule page is meant to give that full view for each of the teams during the tryout process. And then again, defining who Group A and Group B is, that would typically be left up to the coach or whoever is administering your tryouts. The last thing we're going to show is how we can split tryouts to different categories if you'd like. So now I'm going to jump into a different category, the local league novice team, and add a couple of tryouts as well for this team. and we'll just start them back on the same night and put them a little earlier. The other thing we can do too is we can say that maybe the first 2 skates are just regular tryouts, but the third night, maybe we'll call this a carding night, to indicate that this might be the first skate where players are going to be actually assigned to the team. You can label those tryouts however you want. So if there's things like checking clinics or goalie evaluations, you can label them appropriately and it will show up on that tryout schedule page. So now if I go back and refresh this tryout schedule, we'll have 2 different teams now showing, one with the rep novice team, one with the local league novice team, with their respective dates. And again, we have the labeled saying that this is going to be a carding night for the third skate for that local league team. Now, if your association is rather large and you have a lot of teams that could have a tryout schedule, then what you might want to do is not have maybe an organization-wide tryout schedule because it's just too long. You do have the ability to set up within a category level site a tryout schedule page. So I've done that previously. I've set up a tryouts page type within the rep category. If I were to go to that rep tryouts page, now it's going to show the tryouts, but only within teams within that rep category. It's not going to show the local league ones on this schedule. You can also, within the main menu of the site, link to the category-specific tryout schedule pages. So if you want in the main menu to say tryout schedule and have that fly out to say rep versus locally, you can do that as well. A lot of different options are available, but in terms of scheduling those tryouts, regardless of whether or not they're in the current season or a future season, normally it would be in a future season, so it's other seasons, 2015, 2016, or whatever the season name is, and then you can find the teams from there. Now you do need to go into the individual team, so we go to let's say the Adam team for next year. You cannot click on the category, you also cannot click on the season. You do need to go right down to an individual team, so your tryouts will probably need to be entered one team at a time as you're putting them into the system. Now, just while we mention it too, the tryout schedule page does show the tryout schedules. It also can show the coaches. So while it's not really related to the scheduling part of the tryouts, we'll just mention it because it is related to tryouts, that the registration module does also allow to go in other seasons, pick a future season, rep, and then novice, and we can add some coaches to next year's novice team while the current season is still going. So we can say that Pat Quinn's coaching that team, and now he does show up on that tryout schedule page as well. So it's kind of that one-stop page where if the 14-15 season is still ongoing, but you're getting ready for the upcoming season, you've got your tryout schedule done, you've got your coaches picked and announced, you can get all that stuff scheduled on this one page. Now, in addition, if you want other information to show up on that tryout schedule page, it's also possible to do that. So within the managed page content, we can look at our tryout features and our tryout schedule. This page does allow custom content. So if there are things like links to registration forms or other information about ages or tryout fees, whatever you want to do, you can say, this information appears on this page. And if you make mistakes, you can go back in and correct those just by double clicking on it, just like you can anywhere else. So that information does show up on the tryout schedule page. So again, whatever you want to put on there above it is up to you. So that was on the main organization tryout schedule page. It also is available on the category specific ones if you'd like to do that. But again, we know that tryouts are a rather important time of year for every association. So if you do have any questions about the specifics of how you'd like to get your tryouts scheduled for your own center, please do feel free to contact us and we'll be happy to walk you through it. Thanks and have a great day.